In this exercise we're going to calculate a frequency table. We're going to take the returns data that we calculated earlier and work out how many of the monthly returns lie in certain intervals. I've set up the intervals on this left-hand column here. And how did I arrive at these specifically? What I did was to go to the returns data that we've already calculated and figure out the maximum return and the minimum return. So I know that the maximum is 11.3% and the minimum's minus 7.8%. So I've set up a set of intervals here which cover that range. And I actually have to specify these as numbers rather than text. So I'll just put -8 here, and then the interval between the ranges is 2. So I just take that number and add 2 to it. That gives me -6. Then I calculate that, continue that formula right down, and that's what I get. So that's in Excel described as the bins range, the bins into which I will put the frequency of the number of cases of returns that fall within that bin. Okay, now the calculation of the frequency table itself is what we'll go on to next, and this is quite complicated. First of all, you have to select the area or the set of cells into which you want the frequencies to be dropped. Then you have to enter the frequency formula, which is standard Excel formula. You're then asked to supply the data array and subsequently the bins array. So let's go for the data array. The data array is on the other worksheet. It's our set of continuously compounded returns. That's it. Now we'll now enter a comma because we're going to supply the next parameter, the bins array, which is back on our original worksheet, and it's this range of data. Now we close the brackets. Now this is where you have to be very careful. This is in a sense a somewhat unusual formula in that it's what's called an array formula in Excel, and instead of pressing return here, standard return, I have to hold the control and shift keys down and then press return or enter. They're the same key. So let me do that. I'll hit return. I'm holding control and shift down and I hit return. And there is the set of returns. If I select one of these cells, you'll see that the formula is shown, but there are curly brackets at either end of the formula. That indicates that this is an array formula, and in fact as I move down the frequency table the formula doesn't change. What I can also do is to calculate the cumulative frequency. That is, I can work out how many of the returns, up to -8%, up to -6%, up to -4%, and so on. So I work out all the returns that were less than a specific value, the top end of the particular bins range. So let me do that. Here I'll just, for example, equate it to the first one, because clearly there are none that are less than -8%. Here what I do is to cumulate by adding the cell opposite to the cell before, which gives me 3. Now if I continue doing that, what I find is that it cumulates the frequencies so that I get 10 in the next cell, which is the sum of the 7 and the 3. I get 15 in the next cell, which is the sum of 10 and 5, and so on. So that's how to calculate a frequency table. It's quite complex, but often quite a useful descriptive approach to your data.